Tuesday to everybody today. Happy Tuesday. Listen, so hopefully we'll be joined by one of my favorite persons in the industry today. But the topic for today is relationship and finance. That is the topic for today because when we're looking at some data, right? We're seeing that the one of the main reason, actually the top reason for separations in relationship and also divorce is money, right? That's one of the main reason, for breakup and also divorces, right? So what we're going to talk about today is just a couple of topics, right? In reference to financing and relationship because it's usually a taboo, right? People don't want to talk about it, right? They try to stay away from having that conversation, and I guess growing up, people, maybe watching your parents, right? People were raised to not talk about money, I guess in a way. So if you're raised that way, you kind of also end up behaving, that same way, right? Um, and I think for success in any relationship, right? I think for success to happen in a relationship, especially nowadays in this new, economic time that we are in, I think you have to be able to talk about money. You understand? It's one of those things where you cannot avoid because most of the time, everybody is coming into a relationship, with their own personal responsibility, right? Their own personal debt. This is not like back in the day where they find you a husband and a wife and then they put you together, when you guys are young and you guys just start off life. Most of the time, some people are coming into a relationship with children, with school loan, with whatever situation that they had before they knew that person. You understand? So talking about money, it has to be in the forefront, right? Because you cannot avoid it, especially if you plan on living together and working through life issues together, right? And guys, give me a second, right? Because we're trying to get Michelle on here, right? And I'm not sure. Give me a second, guys. Let me see if we can get Michelle on here. Let me see. Uh, 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 um. Yeah, Michelle, if you can maybe chime in and let me know. I do see you here, but for some reason, I'm not able to add you for some reason. Um, but maybe you can communicate with us, through the chat, right? I'm sure, I'm not the most techy, individual, so I'm sure I'll probably screw up somewhere, right? But um, Michelle, I've actually known her for probably 5 or 6 years, right? She's actually a industry leader, right? And let me just backtrack so I can briefly introduce myself. My name is Maxwell Akinsanwa, and I am the CEO of Titan Evolution Group. I've been in the insurance industry now for probably about 16 years or so. And I'm doing something a little bit different today, right? Because most of the time I'm talking about, insurance and retirement planning and, and goals and, and things of that nature, right? But most of the time I'm usually talking about, life insurance and retirement and annuities and things like that. But today I feel as though that this topic is important because this is one thing that people try to shy away from, right? And the first thing I want to talk about today is, and it's a little different dynamic, right? But today I want to talk about a couple of things that people are going through in this new era, right? And that is, how do you feel about dating someone who makes more than you, right? It's one of those sensitive topics, right? Like, I remember probably about maybe 2 weeks ago, one of my good friend, like she does game nights, right? And we'll go to game nights, and this was one of the questions that came up in game night. And you had the men and you had the women, right? And they were asking the question, how do you feel about dating someone making more than you? And if you guys can chime in, in the chat, I want to know how you guys feel about that. Dating someone who makes more than you, especially the men. If we have men on here, I want to know how you feel about dating a woman who makes more than you. Now, Michelle said it depends on the income disparity, financial independence, or shared goals. And I totally agree with you. Like, I don't see a problem in a way dating a woman who makes more than me. So what do I mean? Let's say I make $100,000 a year, and let's say she makes 150. I personally don't see a problem with that. But if I make 100 and she makes 1 million, then I don't know. And fellas, you guys, help me here. I mean, would that be an issue for you? Okay, if your lady makes 1 million and you make $100,000 a year, okay, because you got to think about it. Her lifestyle is probably going to be up here, right? And you might not be able to meet, that lifestyle. You understand? So I always tell people, right, when it comes to relationship, you wanna be realistic. You understand? I think a lot of people, and I hate to say this, it sounds strange to say, but I think everybody should want to date within their league, right? Like because for women and men is different. Like a woman can make $100,000 a year and she'll be okay with dating a guy who makes 1 million all day, every day, right? Most men, they might say they're okay with it initially, but after a while, the nature of a guy, you know what I'm saying, will come out. You understand? Michelle just said if one earns significantly more than the other, a 50-50 split might not feel fair. And I agree. And I agree. I mean, I do know some women who won't mind doing that. I know a lot of women who don't mind making way more than their man and carrying, majority of the weight. But even if a woman don't mind that, and again, fellas, you guys can help me out here. I think something within you, inside of you as a man, is gonna say, hey, something don't feel right. Something don't feel right here. Now, here's the deal though. I will say this. If your woman makes significantly more than you and you have a goal and a plan and it's transparent with your lady, you let her know what your goals are, it's clear, and she sees you working on it, then I don't really see a problem with that if you are actually going to do that. Okay, but I've seen relationship where you know um a woman makes more than a man, and the guy just get comfortable and it end up in a divorce. Because and again, ladies who are on here, help me out here. Let me know if I'm right or wrong. I think at some point, a woman does want to feel like a woman, and she want to be taken care of and provided for at some point. So most women will hold you down, but I think at some point they wanna feel as though that hey, they have a man next to them. Because whether you say it's old school or not, typically by nature, it is your job to go out there and hunt and provide for the family, right? So I believe that's a man's nature. But I want to briefly, introduce Michelle and just talk about her just a little bit, right? She's been in the industry now for about 25 plus years, right? And she's a person who I look up to a lot because whenever I have some issue going on, with my team, or let's say I have a question I don't know about, because she's been in it at least 9 more years than I have. Okay, I do, reach out to her, right? She's also a top producer, so she's out here getting it. She's an agency builder and she's a multi six figure earner, right? So, and again, my apologies, guys. I know it's my tech is my fault because I'm not that techy, and I was hoping she was gonna get on here today because I know she had some gems, to give us tonight, right? But I'm gonna try to make the best of the situation tonight. And again, if you guys, can chime in and let us know what you think. Do you feel as though it's okay to be able to date someone who make more than you, whether it's like 20 grand more or $1 million more, than you, right? In a relationship, like a committed relationship, and you guys are going somewhere. Do you feel as though it's okay to date someone who makes more than you? Okay. So, because again, this whole thing stemmed from, you know, looking at divorce rate and trying to keep families right together, right? And personally, I think a lot of the divorce rate and people breaking up is, I think it's a lot of lack of communication and clarity, right? You know, everybody going their own way. One person going west, another person going east. One person going north, another person going south. You understand? But I think if you are in a committed relationship and you guys have a goal and a plan to go somewhere in life, and if one person has already gotten there before you, and you guys just willing to work together, so that way you can climb up the ladder. I don't think there's anything wrong. I do feel though that I think a lot of it though is one person is usually just stagnant and just don't want to move or do better. And this is why I always say, most people want to date within their their league. I guess is the word that I want to use. Right, you want to date somebody who's on your same level. You know, then if you date a woman who make $1 million a year, you understand her drive, her day to day is way up here, and unless you go with her, you might get left behind. You understand? She may love you, but this is a driven individual. And if you're just sitting at home all day, not doing nothing, you're comfortable, with where you're at. I personally don't know how long that's gonna last. You understand? So, but again, I'm hoping some of y'all can chime in and let me know. So Michelle says shared goals. Exactly, exactly. What is your goal for the relationship? What is your family goal? What is your long term goal? Where do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? You understand? As long as you're showing some growth, you know, um, in reference to what you're trying to do, and your lady sees that you're actually doing it, then yeah, I don't, I personally don't see anything wrong with it. And there's sometimes in some situation, it might take that individual to shake you up and to wake you up and to motivate you. Let's put it that way, right? So yes, this is not my usual. This is like usually I'm talking about life insurance and retirement planning and goals. But today, again, like I said, I do feel as though like it is a conversation that a lot of people, do not want to talk about or just want to run away from and things like that. So, but again, this is not back in the day because back in the day, things wasn't as complex. You know, things cost so much more nowadays that you have no choice. I mean, it costs so much more to live nowadays because now you have no choice to talk about your goals, to talk about growing, and to try to figure out a way to grow. You understand? So back in the day, it was taboo. People don't talk about money. You understand? So, and whatever happens, happens. I don't think you can afford to do that nowadays. Because it's so much to lose, nowadays, right? A house is not cheap anymore. Um, you know, on vehicles, investments, all these things, right? It's just a lot to lose. I think everybody, have to communicate and set goals and put a plan together, right? In reference to what it is that they want out of life and out of the relationship. Yeah. So listen, let me segue right to um the next topic, right? Because this particular topic, I don't really like it too much because this is the thing now on social media, right? And personally, my personal opinion, I think social media is ruining a bunch of relationship that could have been great. You understand? Because people are looking at people on social media, or people are looking at their next door neighbor, right? And they're looking at what they have, right? And they're like, well, why don't I have this, or why can't my man get me this, or or whatever, right? So the next topic is, should you go 50-50 with your spouse? And ladies, you guys are on here, please chime in. And is this a turnoff for you? So what do I mean? If your spouse, and this is for people in I want to, in a serious relationship, right? Should you go 50-50 in reference to bills being paid, going out to eat, traveling, all these things, right? Should you go 50-50, right? Um, I forgot, I was watching a podcast, let's say about a week ago, right? And I forgot the young lady's name, right? But um, she made a comment and she was like, any man that asks her to go 50-50, she consider a dusty. Pretty much that's, broke, whatever. So, and I was sitting here listening, right? And you had some women who are chiming in, agreeing with her, and some women say, no, I don't agree with that, whatever. But when I think about it, um, here's some information for you. E- Back in the day, men paid for everything because women couldn't work. So if a woman couldn't work, how would you expect her to pay for anything? You can't, right? Now I'm still old school. You understand? Not only am I old school, I'm also African. Not only am I African, I'm also Nigerian. So this is not my belief. I don't believe in the 50-50 thing, right? You know what I'm saying? But you know, um, but I can understand in a way where the newer generation believe is a thing. It's a thing for them. You understand? Because um things are more expensive. For example, let me give you guys some data. In 1939, to buy a brand new house, it was $3,800. To buy a brand new house, it was $3,800 in 1939. In 1979, to buy a brand new house, it was 69,900. In 2024, to buy a brand new house on the average, it's $410,000. You see the significant jump from 1939, where men were providing and paying for everything. The cost of living was so much lower. So it's easier to be able to provide and pay for everything, right? In 1939, a monthly grocery bill was $15 in 1939. In 1979, you can fill your refrigerator full of food and your pantry with $150 a month, right? In 2020, it will cost you $600 to $700, right? To be able to provide groceries. So in a sense, I can kind of see where this newer generation, feels though that they must go 50-50, because it is tougher. Now, mind you, back while everything was climbing, rent, mortgage, groceries, right? It was steadily climbing. You know what kind of like stay stagnant or climb real slow? Wages. Wages, right? So, like Michelle says, communication is key. Um, she said this depends on what's going on in the relationship. If both people are working and the husband is making more, I believe it should cover at least the mortgage, rent, light, and water. And I absolutely agree. Because like I said, I'm old school. You understand? And that's the way that we were raised. As a man, whether you are in a relationship or you are married, if you choose to take that woman in, that is your responsibility, right? You know, and I remember I was having this conversation, right? And somebody said, "Hey, well, what if she makes the same as I make?" Right? I don't know. Again, that's you guys. That's a relationship that you guys have to communicate and talk about in reference to, because again, everybody's coming in with their own responsibilities. This is again, this is not back in the day where somebody get with somebody at the age of 18 years old. And at that point, nobody has any kind of responsibility, any kind of debt. Everybody's growing together. Nowadays, I think the average marriage age, I believe, is like 27, 28. You understand? By that time, you done got school loan. You made a purchase your first home. You may have children. You're definitely going to have a car note. All these things that factor in, right? By the time you meet, this other individual, right? So, I don't know. Like I said, it's a new generational thing. Um, the cost of living is very high, nowadays. So I can kind of understand, where these young guys, are coming from in reference to being able to who are we doing 50-50, or are we, here's the deal. And I was talking to Michelle a little bit, earlier today. Um, there is something called 100-100. Okay, which means if I ain't got it, then you got it. You understand? So I forgot who I was talking to, and it was like, well, if you're paying everything, then what is she doing? So because nowadays most women work, so it's like if you're paying for everything, then what is she paying for? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I think nowadays if I had to guess, the smart thing will be, okay, cool. If you're paying for everything, then maybe she's putting money away in the family emergency fund, because sometimes life does life, and you never know what can happen. You understand? So I think if you are in a relationship with somebody and you guys have an awesome and amazing relationship and communicate and talk about your goals and family and things like that, if one person is paying for everything, I think another person should be putting money away, or for a rainy day, or even planning for future. So maybe that person is the one covering the IRAs, the mutual fund, the investment products, so that way when you guys get older, you have funds. I don't know. It's all about communication, and what you guys want to do uh with your family. But again, you're talking to a guy who's old school, so but like I said, if we're in 2025 and the average rent, and we are here in the DMV, the average rent is, let's say, two-bedroom might be 2,600 bucks. Okay. A mortgage is going to be at least $4,000. And I believe they said the average income, annual income now, is about 70 something thousand. And that's before taxes. I don't know. Maybe it might be someone to consider, in reference to that. And again, like Michelle said, if you guys are working together towards a goal, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like if one person is making 70 something, another person is making 100 or whatever, and you both pull your money into a pool, and you're both, just taking care of bills and you're saving and stuff like that, a few years from now, you guys will be on top. You understand? So, I mean, I'm not a relationship guru. I'm not a, I'm not a financial, relationship guru. But I think to me, that might be smart. That might be something that, everybody just pull their money together like a team, and then, do, like, for example, when I was married, I just went and made the money and she paid the bills. I don't, like, I don't, I didn't know. She knew what the bills is, and the bills just get paid. That wasn't something that I handled. You understand? So, but again, some people are not willing to, um, open up, their wallets like that, and allows another person to, because again, we had one account. She had a card for the account. I get my direct deposit. It goes in there, and she paid the bills. you know, So, but again, you're talking another, again, an old school individual who think a little bit different than this new era. And again, if Michelle want to chime in on this one, but it's very understandable when you're looking at how much things cost now, and the income is not, matching. So a lot of people, may want to decide um, to split everything, down the middle. All right. Listen, we probably going to be doing a whole lot more of this, right? Because um, when when I look at other countries, for example, right? So again, I'm West African, right? And I look at, like, the divorce rate is so low. Or people in Asia, the divorce rate is so low, right? And you look in America, and the divorce rate is so high. I think one of the issue is, in America, I think there's a lot of pressure uh to be, or to move like the Joneses, right? There's a lot of pressure to want to be like your next door neighbor, right? There's a lot of pressure when you're watching social media and you're seeing people live a life that I call, you know, a facade or a fake life, because most of these people, um, when you meet them outside of Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, right? That's not really their life. So I think the pressure to live a life that's not real is high in America, right? And it causes friction, you know, in a relationship, when another person is looked at to provide, and they're not giving you what you want, because you look at your neighbor and you've seen something that they have, and that thing that they have might not even be real. You understand? They might be sky high in debt, so, you know, but whereas in other country, you know, um, everybody is almost like, everybody's almost like on an even scale or even level. You know what I'm saying? And the pressure to have that other person go out and get this and get that, or build this and build that, it's not that. The materialistic pressure is just not there. Now, we are where we are. We're in America. You understand? So it is what it is, right? So this is why I personally believe that finances is important. You can't help where you live. You understand? So finances and communication, and and clarity, is important. Michelle said, yeah, agree. Pressure is serious. Yeah, it is a lot of pressure, because when you're watching Instagram, like, and Michelle, you might want to chime in. I know you're a multi six figure earner. I'm also a multi six figure earner. And I'm looking at some of these guys, and I'm like, yo, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm like, what is going on here? I'm saying, like, I'm behind. So, like, it will make you feel like you're not doing right. And and I've met some of these people who are on there flexing, and it's just not what they're portraying, right? So Yeah, I think, sometimes we might need to shut down that social media, right? And focus on your goals, focus on your relationship and your relationship goals. Don't worry about what the neighbor is doing. Don't worry about what they're doing on social media. Don't worry about who's going to Dubai today. Don't worry about who's in St. Thomas. Don't worry about who's don't like like to me. That's none of your business. You know what I'm saying? That's like that's that those people are probably in high debt. They're probably maxing out credit card to live that lifestyle. In most cases, they're probably highly irresponsible. Like if you had a conversation with these people, right? There's a high likelihood that they don't have any retirement income at all. If they do, they're contributing minimal to none. You understand? These same people probably have no emergency fund. These same people, for sure, if they have no retirement account or no emergency fund, I'm willing to bet they also don't have any life insurance. All that correlates. You understand? But they'll spend their last trying to live on social media for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it's self gratification. Maybe it's to flex on. I have no idea. Right. So I think that's why relationship back in the day probably last so much longer because I don't believe. I think they live within their means back then. Listen, we got $500 a month. This is what we got, and we have to make it work. Okay, we're not going to go into debt. I don't think they even believe in debt back then. You understand? But we're not going to go into debt to try to live like Nancy and Joe next door. You understand? Like that's not what we're going to do. Everybody stay within their what I'm saying, within their lane, right? So yeah, this is one of Michelle said, I've been married for 17 years and it's so important to live within your means. Absolutely. 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 Because the pressure is so much lower. So for example, say let's say you were able to just key focus on you and your relationship and you remove the outside world, right? You don't care what they're doing, what they think, right? And let's say 10 years from now, right? You and your spouse have, for example, liquid 200K, 300K in their bank account. Okay. You probably have about maybe close to let's say 800K, you know, in your retirement account. I want you to imagine how much secure you will feel in that moment. I know for sure the blood pressure pill will not be needed. I know that for sure. You understand? Because you got funds now for emergencies, right? You're gearing towards retirement. Okay. But everybody want to move like everybody else. Okay. You wanna dress like everybody else. You wanna drive where everybody else is driving. You wanna go where everybody else is going. You know, and that tends to break relationship. That tends to I've known relationship where one person is frugal and another person is a spender. And that breaks relationships. This person right here is trying to save for the future. This person right here live for today. So you understand? So I don't know how well that's gonna work in a relationship, right? So I do apologize again because I was hoping, but next time we'll get it right. We'll get it right because Michelle brings a lot of um knowledge and just gold to these conversation. Like she said, she's been married for 17 years, going on 20. That's an achievement. She's been running her business for almost 30 years. That's another achievement. Okay, she's a top producer, in the industry. You understand? So this is a person who knows how to achieve, and who knows how to, go after what she wants and work towards it, right? And this is what we actually want to do, especially within our community, right? We want to do a lot of education, um, in reference to helping our community get back to where we were before, where you had marriages that last for 40, 50 years, right? You had great relationship with people, right? You had money saved up for emergency. You understand? You're not living off a credit card. Okay. And then you have your family, all the family, are in the house together. So this is one of the main reasons why, because as we in financial service, Michelle and I, and we get like these crazy datas, almost every day we get these data, right? Even the other day, I saw data from the Census Bureau, right? That talks about nearly 49% of people who are 55 to 66 have zero retirement. Can you imagine? Like, to be that age and you have zero retirement, what could have caused that? What could have caused that? I'm going to just jump out there and say off the top, okay, it has to be bad money habits. I mean, if I had to guess, if I had to guess, right, I'm going to have to assume the number one reason you will be in that position is bad money habit and not being a great saver and trying to live like the Joneses. You know, we the one thing that we don't have that we cannot get back is time. You know, I do meet a lot of people who love to travel and all this good stuff, right? And I look at them and I was like, if only you knew that you can't get today back. If only you knew you can't get last week back. If only you knew you can't get last year back. If only you knew you just lost 10 years of your life that you can't get back. Okay? Because time is not on your side. And people think they have time. And then they get to 55 or 65 and they say, man, I don't have nothing saved up. What am I going to do? Okay? I did a video about that a few days ago, right? And that is from the Census Bureau. I mean, it's a scary situation that a lot of us are in right now. Um, and even myself, I had to grow into who I am right now. I had to like literally stop myself from buying stuff. And if I couldn't do that, I need to make sure that the money didn't reach my hand. You understand? So a couple of months ago, I pretty much started contributing about 30% into my brokerage account that don't even come to me. Like it's immediately removed from my check before I receive my check. You understand? Because I don't want to be those individuals who get to 55 or 66 and now they're calling Dave Ramsey on his show and say, "Hey, I'm 65 years old and I don't have any money still for retirement." What do you, Michelle? Can you answer this question for me? What do you do if you're 65 and you have zero retirement income? What do you do at that point? I mean, I can just close my eyes and imagine how scary that could be at that moment, you know? And you hope your children can help you, but you can't count on that because based on the way things are going right now, based on inflation, based on cost of living, based on all these things, I don't even know if these children will be able to help themselves. And you want them to help you. So yeah, this is one of those Michelle put go back to work. Unfortunately. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. That is the only other option. But let me ask you this because um you say go back to work, unfortunately, right? And which is cool. I guess you have no choice. But and this is what I always tell people, right? This is one of the reasons why I'm a huge advocate for savings and life insurance plan and things like that, right? What happens when your body tells you it can no longer work? You understand? So because some people just feel as though they're gonna be 20 years old forever or 30 years old forever, right? But this is why it's important because I remember I was watching I think it was, is it Money Edition or I think it was Business Insider, and the lady was talking about how, she could only work part-time because I think her left side or something like that was injured or whatever, and or was she? I think she was something like that. You're saying so because as you age, your body, start to change, right? And what do you do when your body tells you that we can't do any longer? You understand? So this is why I try to, educate people. Like, listen, yeah, you may want to live life now, but the worst thing you want to have happen to you is be old and broke. You could be young and broke, but being old and broke is not a good look at all. It's nowhere. And I know Michelle can attest to this because we've been out in the field. I lost count as to how many families I've seen in the past 16 years in business. It's in the thousands. It's in the thousands, right? And as you go into these homes, these people are living off of Social Security. They could barely pay their mortgage. A lot of them don't have any health insurance because they can't afford it. So you're older and you're walking around without any health insurance. It's crazy, right? So this is why money and relationship, this topic, and again, me and Michelle are gonna do this again. Why this topic, I feel as though is important, right? Why we wanna why we wanna talk about this and keep talking about this, because I do believe that in America, we are raised to spend. We are a spending community, especially the Black community. We spend. We spend like tomorrow is not coming. We spend like we never gonna see the money again. You understand? And I go into homes and I see, and again I keep saying this, the blessings for me, and I don't know, Michelle, maybe want to chime in into this one, but the blessings for me is getting my license and getting into this industry and actually seeing real life situation. A lot of people, I don't really believe they know what's going on out here. You were raised to get a job, go to school, get a job, start a family, work there and retire, and everything will be okay. That's not true. That's not true. That's not what is going on right now in real life. As I go into these homes and these people are telling me that, man, I wish I knew this when I was 25 or 30 years old, you know, or this one guy out there in, I think it was in Tennessee. Man, I remember this agent came to my house and told me the same thing you just told me. I just didn't do it. And I'm like, why? He was like, I don't know. I just didn't do it. And this guy's like, well, I believe he was like 56 years old, I believe. And I'm like, did you know that if you would have done this plan at that moment, not only would there be any reason for you to see me today, you'd be retired by now. And he just shook his head. You understand? So, yeah, listen, man, like um, it's the more and more I go in the field, and I hate to use the word, let me not use the words fearful. Let me say the more I get awakened, the more I say to myself, you don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need that. No, we're not going there. You know what I'm saying? Because like you see all these people who like, when you're retired is when you're supposed to be enjoying life, literally, like fishing, golfing, spending time with your spouse, spending time with the grandkids, traveling the world. And that's the time that you can't even leave the house. That's crazy. That's crazy. So yes. So listen, for all of y'all that was able to get on with us today, man, this was amazing. We're gonna do more of this. And again, next time, we're gonna have the tech issue squared away. And again, Michelle, I do apologize to you, man. I was very excited about today and hoping you were able to get on with us. But other than that, listen, thank you guys so much, for getting on our lives. Really appreciate it. And Michelle, if you can maybe just a message in there where, you know, people can get in touch with you. Myself personally, you can email me at evolve@titanevolutiongroup.com, or go to my site, which is titanevolutiongroup.com. That's titanevolutiongroup.com. What my main focus is retirement planning and life insurance and living benefits. That's pretty much my talent, and my skill set, and what I provide for thousands of my clients on a daily basis. So yes, other than that, guys, we hope to see you on the next one, and we hope to have more of you guys in on our next live. Talk to y'all soon.